I don't think you're supposed to be here. So, Riot just dropped what might be one of the most confusing patches, because it kinda goes against everything that they've teased so far. You see, over the years, Riot mastered the art of uniting all of their games for a single event. When their big KDA return happened, League had new skins, TFT had Little Legends, Valorant had musical guns, and Legends of Runeterra had KDA cards. And of course, let's not forget the KDA DLC for Hextech Mayhem. And then for Arcane, the heavens shook and Jinx and Vi appeared everywhere, from every Riot game to every non-Riot game to the bottom of your morning coffee. Riot simply went big for Arcane. And so now we are standing before the big update for League in 2027, with Riot confirming that this final season of 2026 is gonna be extra long and big, and so one would assume that something big is actually gonna happen. And so slowly but surely we started connecting the pieces, with the two biggest puzzle pieces coming from TFT and Riftbound. The TFT roadmap revealed that the last set of the year is gonna be focusing on music, and around the same time Riftbound is gonna be launching Radiance, a set that is seemingly introducing a lot of musical champions. And so the running theory is that this big event to close 2026 is gonna be the big return of KDA. And if that is the case, then what is she doing here? And also, what's going on with them? You see, if Riot is planning a big musical thing, wouldn't it make sense to save the musical things for that thing? Well, it is possible that Riot might be trying to do the opposite. Maybe the second half of Season 3 is gonna be musical all the way through. And so they might wanna give us a lot of musical skins, which might actually backfire. Because if these skins are not amazing, people will get tired of the musical themes very quickly. But what is especially odd here is that these skins might already be overlapping with what KDA might wanna do. So let's break down what's actually going on. The first two skins we have to talk about are the Ocean Song Jinx and Soraka. These two are relatively safe, because imagine a scenario where KDA makes a comeback and they need another band member for some reason. What are the chances that we get Jinx, someone who would more likely fit a punk rock band? And what are the chances we get Soraka, an alien with silence ability? Not very big, is it? So not only does this confirm that neither of these will be part of KDA, but yes, I believe it also confirms that punk rock is off the table, at least for this year. But when it comes to the skins themselves, of course they are part of the Ocean Song theme right next to Seraphine, and so it is all about summer pool splashing combined with music, where Jinx actually got quite creative, although it doesn't really show in the game. You see, Jinx's machine gun is actually a guitar, and she even plays it in the Recall. And I'll be honest, it is awesome. But when it comes to the visual side, that is kinda where the musical references end. For the most part, most of her abilities are just splishy sploshy VFX, which also sometimes bring up, underwater mines? Well, that's a dangerous musician. But it is all carried by the beautiful sound effects. When swapping between Pow Pow and Fishbones, you can actually hear the sound of the instruments. Her W also plays a tune off of the enemy if you manage to hit them. Her E plays a song as long as chompers are deployed. And her ultimate even plays a quick stinger. But I love the sound of her passive the most. So overall, it is a pretty good one. With Ocean Song Soraka being essentially the same thing. Except her instrument is a microphone. Yes, we have another singer in the same universe right next to Seraphine. But as the skin's bio confirms, that is because Soraka is actually a backup vocalist. And again, all the spells are very splishy-sploshy. Her auto-attack summon projectiles that mimic her weapon. The same symbol can also be found in her Q. Her E absolutely drenches the ally. Her E is a water bomb, and her ultimate has a bit of a watery Star Guardian vibe. And just like how it is with Jinx, expect a lot of cool sound effects, which includes Soraka's voice in between the abilities. So again, this is a pretty good skin, which then takes us to Confusion Incarnate. Heartsong Seraphine. So, if the big thing at the end is gonna be KDA, again, does that mean that Seraphine is gonna get fired? Look, I know that there's a lot of lore behind KDA Seraphine. Yes, while most people will only remember her complaining, I remember the lore. She was an independent musician who was picked up by Ari, she became a member of KDA, and at the end of her storyline, she parted ways with KDA's and she became independent once again. Which means if KDA make a return, she shouldn't be there. But to straight up rip her out with this skin is very cruel, because it pretty much confirms that no matter what's gonna be happening at the end of the year, Seraphine will not be included. Or at least I think that's what it means, because truth be told, Riot is not afraid of supplying us with more Seraphine skins. She got a Firecracker in January, and she got a T1 skin last month. And right now, we are getting another one. So would it be really that bad if she got a 4th skin this year? But that is not where it all ends. Because next, as we dive into the Heartsong bio, we realize that this is a skin from a completely different universe. Meaning that because this is not tied to the musical KDA universe, this is just a completely different Seraphine. And the funniest part is, it is a legendary skin. Now, legendary skins usually do one thing. They give a champion a new fantasy. That is what inspires all the new animations and all the new models, all the new VFX, and yes, it is a legendary skin, there are new voice lines. But what if you take a champion with a very strong core fantasy and you give them the exact same fantasy, huh? In Seraphine's case, we have a champion with the fantasy of a singer, and they get a legendary skin with a new fantasy of a singer. How is this the second time it happened for Seraphine? Now, at least the KDA voice lines had references to the KDA musical universe, which of course is not a thing here. And because her universe is completely separate and there are no other champions here, her voice lines just feel entirely pointless. They don't talk about anything, because quite literally there is no background. And so it is as if you just ask the writers to write more voice lines for normal Seraphine. The only thing that's different is that there is a new filter over the voice. That's it! And on top of this, she only has 3 interactions with champions. That is Lux, Taric, and Sona. And of course, it is these 3 champions because she is a support and she is more likely to meet them in the game. Which means, and I hate to say it, but this is the first time people might have actually enjoyed this skin more if it was actually a mythic variant of KDA or something like that. At least that way you wouldn't have to deal with the pointless voice lines. But in return it would be a gacha skin, so everyone would hate it more. But we are talking about Seraphine mains, so don't worry, a lot of people would still buy it. Anyway, the skin itself is actually good. I really like the design of the platform with the circles, but people will absolutely compare it to KDA. And unfortunately, yes, the vast majority of the color palette matches perfectly, though at least the mood is slightly different. This is a lot less serious skin, and it shows with the emotes. She has a foodie emote with 2 outcomes, either the food is delicious or it's very hot, her taunt summons fireworks, and her dance reveals something interesting. Now, I'm not sure what it is referencing here, but if you listen carefully, you might hear an entirely different musical genre. So who knows, maybe this skin is supposed to turn Seraphine into more of a pop star. Anyway, this then takes us to the abilities. And here, I have to agree with pretty much everyone on the entirety of the Seraphine mains subreddit. Yes, people are not exactly happy because they've seen this one like 4 times for Seraphine already. It is another silvery skin that simply feels basic. I mean, it is a skin with musical abilities, just like before, with musical sound effects, just like before, and the theme is simply music. Again! So there's honestly not much to be said here. If you own the KDA Seraphine, you own a skin that is very close to this one. And so it's good, but we've seen it before. Although, we haven't seen one thing. When she dies, she summons a hat. And this made me realize something. Again, I have no idea if this is a reference to something, but if it is not, it might be entirely possible that this skin is a setup. There is the possibility that the musical event will bring everyone back, and Heartsong will become a brand new band in this universe. And it is possible that this skin doesn't have interactions with the other musicians from this universe because they are not on PBE yet. In a similar way, during Arcane, a lot of the Arcane champions had their voice lines cut out to not spoil the show. So is this skin gonna get more later? Well, if this hat is not connected to something we know about, it has to be teasing something that is about to come, right? And so there is a good chance there might be more to come. But lastly, let's end on a good note. Remember that this skin is also part of Riot's charity, meaning that all the sales will go towards Riot's Social Impact Fund. And at the end, Riot is gonna double all the money they got. So yes, at least you can do a very good thing by buying this skin. And again, because we are talking about Seraphine, the whales are gonna feed the world. But speaking of whales, there is actually one more thing to be mentioned. Because Skin Spotlines found out that on PBE, Riot already teased the next Hall of Legends skin. Because they accidentally updated the Summoner's Rift and there we saw Caps with Tristana. And I'll be honest, this does feel like a fresh breath of air, because after all the Aries and Kaisa, it is awesome to see a champion that is a bit more silly. But that brings up the question, is Caps actually known for Tristana? Well, if you have a look at the other champions, you might notice that when it comes to Silas and LeBlanc, both of those were taken by Faker, so it's likely he didn't really have much of a choice. But I'm curious to see how much the serious and rich vibes are gonna rub off onto Tristana, which is a very non-serious champion. Are those ears at the top of her head?